Ben, how you doing? And are you ready for your...
Absolutely.
I want to go to mockery really badly.
I will.
So please go.
Okay.
You got to restrain me. Debunk all of it. Logical analysis. You're going to show us how to argue that. Go.
This is based on data from a bunch of different countries. There's abundant evidence that at this point that's bullshit. Breaking down these right-wing arguments and looking at how they're supposed to fit together.
Okay. Break it down. Break it down. Break it down.
Break it down, man. All dogs should be treated equally, man.
Yo, get out there and bust those Proud Boys' heads. I'm the mayor. Send them to hell. Honestly,
That's not even me, though. I feel like all the I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not that invested in those. Oh yeah. Oh right. Yes. If I was mayor of Portland.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I'm sorry. You said that off mic, and now I'm ratting on.
No, you are
I'm
totally.
broke
But
the
I don't.
Italian-
That's fine. No, that's
No,
true.
I broke
If
my Italian code.
You all the time.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
natural born snitch.
Yeah.
You have the Italian code of half of Henry Hill. But no, if I was mayor of Portland, I would say there is one area where you can exercise police brutality, and that's obviously on the Proud Boys. However, it would be a problem because I think there's a bigger problem in the Portland PD. But anyways, we don't have time for all of that,
Okay.
Mike.
Sorry.
We have to get to the debunk. Ben Burgis, Ezra Klein, he redeemed himself a little bit by exposing the horrific belief systems of Sam Harris, but he's still pretty whack. And he just wrote a column a couple of days ago called Leftist Liberals and Neoliberals Share a Problem, Congress, not neoliberalism, hamstrung the Obama's presidency. This is important because this isn't just a close history argument about Obama and how that administration worked. This actually has big implications for the theory of change that different candidates are arguing in 2020. Ben, debunk Ezra. Take us back to shul.
Absolutely. So, first of all, Ezra does the thing at the beginning of the article that people like him always do, which is play dumb about what neoliberalism means. So he says, for example, here, Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were neoliberals. Bill Clinton is often seen as a neoliberal. Barack Obama is sometimes considered a neoliberal. Elizabeth Warren is occasionally called a neoliberal. A label that can describe everyone doesn't usefully describe anyone.
Oh, God.
About which I would say, if you think that's everyone, then that kind of tells me everything. Thatcher and Clinton, I mean, you just described the whole spectrum, right? That's everybody.
Right.
Of course, what neoliberalism means, and, I'm always amazed to see all these, highly educated pundits just express confusion about it. Like they just never thought to look it up or ask anyone, is the revival, hence neo, of more laissez-faire, hence liberal ways of managing capitalism. So more market-based, means-tested programs, if they're going to be social programs, etc., which of course clearly describes both those conservative figures and the market-oriented centrists in the Democratic Party like Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. And again, that just seems like something that you really shouldn't get paid to talk about politics if you genuinely don't know. And if you do know, I don't know why you're doing this sort of cute act about not knowing.
Right.
But in any case, so he says, so he does the song and dance about not quite being sure what neoliberalism is, but he says people say Obama was a neoliberal, and people in particular say the sort of neoliberal limitations of Obama's ideology have something to do with the failures of the Obama administration. And at that point, he says, well, no, that can't be, right? Because the failures of the Obama administration really had nothing to do with the limits of his political vision or anything that might have been ideologically wrong with Obama, because after all, anybody who was politically different, read Bernie Sanders, would have had to deal with the same Congress, so they just wouldn't have gotten anything done either, right? That's going to be his argument. So to be deeply nerdy about it, this is what's called an enthymeme, which means a argument where not all the premises are explicitly stated.
Matt, I would like my board, please. Can you say that again?
Yes, Michael, that's an enthymeme.
All right, go ahead. Thank you.
Which is often legitimate because there are lots of, I mean, it'd be ridiculous to explicitly state all your premises all the time. Lots of things do go without saying. But in this case, what he's treating as going without saying is actually pretty dubious once you actually draw it out. So the unstated premise here is that the composition of Congress would have been exactly the same from 2010 to 2016, regardless of what Obama did or what he advocated or what he was about or what strategy he pursued. That that we're going to have that Republican-dominated Congress no matter what.
Right.
And that's absurd. Right? That there like the obvious objection to that premise is that there are elections every 2 years, and if you can get your base something to get excited about, they might actually come out.
Well, and in addition to that, that's absolutely true. And in addition to that, there was even an argument that was contemporaneous about the idea that starting out of the gate, Barack Obama, who in the beginning of his term had a 70% approval rating, could have, instead of basically for a couple of months pretty much not, giving interviews and so on, but not being out interacting with the public that much and holding these, laborious, horrifying inside baseball negotiations, and then also letting different Senate committees write their own version of the healthcare bills and letting that process go on forever, that if he went across the country and granted, like, this would have been not even remotely as ambitious as Bernie, but just went out and said, like, actually, we're going to protect homeowners. We're going to have a healthcare bill with a public option. We're going to hold Wall Street accountable. The other theory, and again, that was literally contemporaneously argued, was that Obama would have had momentum for even like the center-left reforms that he campaigned on and would have maintained more of his popularity by the act of millions of people not losing their homes. And one more further piece of evidence is that in fact, after letting this disaster drag out, and obviously the racism and astroturf of the Tea Party and Republicans were a huge part of it too, but that has to be factored into the analysis. In fact, it's silly to just limit it to Congress. It's like a whole political warfare against the first black president on every front.
Sure.
But that when after Scott Brown won that special election in Massachusetts, that was when Obama finally said, we're going to do this through reconciliation. And he actually started going out and campaigning and using some of his incredible political gifts. So even to do what at the end of the day was a center-right consumer protection plan, and there was a really good Medicaid expansion that the Supreme Court struck down in part, he actually did what you were talking about. So yeah. Ezra Klein, fake news.
Absolutely. And just to put a little bow on that, the idea that Obama could have pursued the sort of aggressive grassroots mobilization strategy to try to change that political reality that somebody like Sanders was talking about using to get his agenda done is like coming out of the 2008 election. Obama had a huge grassroots organization. Right. Like there was, people were tremendously mobilized in that election, and infamously, Obama pretty much, there was a few months of radio silence after he was elected, and then he pretty much dissolved it. He kind of gave them the DNC as the forwarding address. You want to help out? Here's where you go. Instead of using it the way that like Corbyn uses momentum or Sanders uses our revolution, which would be the kind of thing that would go with this more aggressive strategy that like Obama we saw over and over and over again, his strategy was to appeal to the better angels of the Republicans' nature. Hey, if we nominate Merrick Garland, they can't possibly look so gauche as to not go along with that.
Come on, Merrick Garland's, everybody likes him. Mitch McConnell would never be unethical or underhanded. I just have to believe on some level that the world is the Harvard Law Review.
Exactly.
Ben Burgis, as always, we learned so much. People immediately go order a copy of Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left. Check out Ben's Patreon page. Read his columns in the Jacobin. Look forward to some columns from Ben and I that are co-written as well.
Yep. Oh, by the way.
Yes.
Mike, I love the podcast, but I got to say, it was so much funnier with the original co-host who responded to every criminal piece of shit that you guys would talk about with. I don't know. He seemed like a good guy. People liked him in the neighborhood.
Well, yeah. Frank Terranova. Please check his stuff out. Real wild card.
No, I remember the I forgot about that guy. He was like this sort of like very like
He's
funny,
a stand-up guy.
like a nebbishy, funny Gotti apologist.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, yeah, and then he was called the Undertaker of Brooklyn because he would kill homeless people for target practice, and he's just like, well, that was one part of it that maybe the media focuses on, but there was a lot of families that liked him, and he was also good for the stand-up scene in the 1980s. I remember that.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in a while. I should reach out.
You should.
Yeah.
For your show, definitely not for this show.
He's a great. If you can catch him doing stand up too, he's a really funny stand up.
I would love to see him do stand up. That's a good pull, Ben. Ben Burgis.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Take care, man. See?
Yeah.
That's a real
people listen.
sit down with Mike Recine listener right there.
This guy probably thinks I'm some dumb guinea, but he's listening to my show.
That's what Ben said.
Nice. Yeah.
Before the show, Ben said, "Do I get to be on with the dumb giddy tonight? Are you going to do a debunk segment with that dumb giddy from the Mafia podcast?" You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.